2 million years ago, on the open plains of what we now call East Africa, a small creature was learning to be human. He stood barely 4.5 feet tall. His arms were long, his shoulders broad, his brow ridge heavy. He did not yet speak as we speak. He did not yet command fire. He did not yet have the shape of the world he would one day inherit. He carried only his hands, a few sharp stones, and the breathing company of his clan. His name, in our time, is Homo habilis, the handy man, the toolmaker, the first of our line to leave fingerprints in the dust of evolution. But long before he was the ancestor of conquerors, he was prey. This is what the days looked like when humans were not yet at the top of the world. The morning began before the sun. It always did. The clan stirred under the cold shadow of a rocky overhang, eyes adjusting slowly, ears already listening. Listening was the first work of every day. Before they searched for food, before they touched water, before they shaped the soft grunts that held their family together, they listened. Because the night had been long. The night was always long. In the time of Homo habilis, the savanna was crowded with monsters. The saber-toothed cat moved through the grass with a body shaped only for killing, two long pale fangs hanging like blades over the lower jaw. The giant short-faced hyena was twice the weight of any modern hyena, with jaws that crushed thigh bones the way a fist crushes bread. Cave lions larger than ours patrolled the rocks. Leopards waited in every low tree. Crocodiles waited in every water. And the worst of them, the ones whose eyes shone in the dark, came out at night. When dawn broke, the clan counted itself. 7 still alive. 7 again. They stepped out into the new light not with joy, but with the careful relief of a creature that has survived something it almost did not. The day was for hunger. They were not hunters yet. Not really. They scavenged. They followed the circling vultures. They watched the larger predators feed from a careful distance, and they waited for the leftovers, the bones the lions could not crack, the marrow that the hyenas had not yet reached. With a few crude stones knocked together at the edges, they smashed the long bones open and licked out the soft yellow inside. It was warm. It was rich. Sometimes it was the only food of the day. The whole landscape was a competition. Vultures arrived first and tore at the easy meat. Then came the hyenas, then the bigger cats, and finally, last in line, the small dark figures who would one day be us. Sometimes the clan was driven off the carcass before they could feed at all. They ran low through the grass, empty-handed, and they did not complain, because there was nothing to complain to. The world simply was what it was. When they drank afraid. The waterholes were the most dangerous places on the savanna. Every animal had to come. Every predator knew it. So they drank quickly, in shifts, one always watching, eyes on the reeds, on the muddy edge where a long armored shape might be waiting beneath the wet skin of the world. A single careless second at the water could take a sister, a brother, a partner forever. By midday the heat became its own predator. Shadows shortened until there was almost nowhere to hide from the sun. They rested in scraps of acacia shade, panting, conserving everything they had. They watched the horizon. They watched each other. A young female searched her partner's hair for parasites with quiet tenderness. The elder male sat sharpening a flake of gray flint, his hands knowing the rhythm even when his eyes were tired. The simple stone in his palm was the height of their technology. It was also a miracle. It was the first answer this species had ever given to a hostile world. They were small. They were vulnerable. But they were not stupid. They communicated. They cooperated. They shared. They were already, in the deepest meaning of the word, a family. The bond between them was not yet love as we name it, but it was something close, something older, the warmth of bodies that have only each other in the dark. Then the sun began to fall. Anyone who has ever been afraid of the dark carries the memory of this moment in their bones. It is the oldest fear in the world, and it was born here, on this plain, in these bodies. As the light turned orange, then red, then the deep purple of the savanna evening, the clan moved with new urgency. They climbed onto a low rocky ledge above the grass, hands and feet finding the holds they had used 1,000 times before. They gathered close. They placed the strongest males on the outside of the circle, the elders toward the center. There was no fire to push the dark back. There was no wall. There was only the body of the clan against the body of the night. And then the night came. First the colors drained from the world. Then the shapes. Then the sounds began. A snarl from the grass. A long rolling moan that might be a lion. The dry chuckle of hyenas calling each other in. Closer than yesterday. Closer than they should be. The eyes came next. 2 yellow points floating in the black. Then 4. Then more. Predators do not need to see their prey clearly. They smell. They hear breath move in and out of a chest. The clan held still. They held each other. Adults pressed their hands gently over the lips of the youngest among them to keep small, terrified breath from carrying. The lead male gripped his cracked stone so tightly that his knuckles paled beneath the dust. Once, deep in the dark, something heavy paced along the base of their ledge. They could hear the weight of it through the rock. They could smell the iron of its breath. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. For an eternity that was probably less than a minute, every member of the clan understood, with the clean clarity that only fear can give, that they might not see the morning. And then, as slowly as it had arrived, the heaviness moved on, drawn away by some other distant cry, some other unlucky animal in the night. Survival was not a fight. Survival was patience. Stillness. The hope that something else, somewhere else, would be the easier kill tonight. This was the bargain of being alive in the time of Homo Habilis. You gave the day to hunger. You gave the night to fear. And in the morning, if the deal held, you counted yourselves again. When dawn finally returned, the clan came down from the rock slowly, stiff with cold, eyes red from sleeplessness. They did not celebrate. They knew the same night was coming again. And the night after that. And the night after that. The world had not changed. They had only outlasted it for one more rotation. But they had survived. They had carried each other through. That is how we became human. Not in glory. Not in triumph. In small clans on small ledges, holding still through long darknesses, learning the kind of patience that would one day build cities and ships and songs and tell stories like this one back across 2 million years. Every empire, every cathedral, every word ever written or sung was paid for, in advance, by these silent nights on these forgotten ledges. Every one of us is the quiet descendant of those who held still long enough. Their fear is buried in the deepest layer of our minds. So is their courage. When you feel uneasy walking past a dark window at night, that is them. When you instinctively reach for the hand of someone you love when something rustles in the trees, that is them too. The body remembers what the mind has forgotten. 2 million years is not so long, in the end. It is only enough time to teach a creature to make a sharper stone, and then a softer word, and then a song. There were no cameras then. There were no historians. There was only the sound of the night, the closeness of bodies on a cold rock, and the slow, stubborn refusal to disappear. In the morning, when they walked down again, they did not know they were beginning the human story. They only knew they were hungry, and that today, somehow, they would have to eat. That is what survival looked like when humans were prey every single night. We owe them more than we know.